and these are my morning thoughts. It is now July 10th, 2020. So it's been about 4 days since I've recorded anything. I found out when I started this project, it was something that brought back a lot of passion. It's more like an experiment for myself. It's supposed to serve as a way for me to observe my own behaviors, the way that I move my face, how I make my voice sound. These videos have been very helpful for me, as well as I feel it could be helpful for others if they eventually get to hear the right story from me. This is a way for me to really take on what is true, try to be very honest with myself, trying to be honest with all of the habitual lies. Habitual lies, I find, is a lie that we tell to ourselves out of habit when society teaches us a way of talking, or somebody in our lifetime has told us something and it served as a reminding voice. Habitual lies cover up the inner truth. There has been times I've walked through life pretty miserable. Working at a job I don't really care for usually is the case. So whenever I'm walking throughout my day and I interact with a person and they ask me, "Hi, how are you?" and I should be able to speak my truth, but I say I'm fine, not wanting to ruin the other person's day, trying to hide a piece of who I am from the world, feeling as if I was a big inconvenience. But what I would really like to have somebody to understand in that moment is I'm not fine. I'm struggling. I will be fine, but this is me right now. I'm trying to change my entire dialect in the way that I communicate my feelings to others. So I have been taking note of these little things I say. I feel like I've been flipping through a catalog of all of my relationships with every single person that I have developed a close encountered relationship with throughout my lifetime. And I'm thinking about all the things that I could have spoken up about or had chose to habitually lie to them about. Anybody who is really my friend, I should be able to speak up and say I am not fine if I'm not fine. Thinking about the ways I've let other people's happiness conquer my own. I really did enjoy seeing other people happy. A little over 2 years ago, I know that I've come to the realization that I've put myself last almost all of my life as a way to protect my feelings. I was a very sensitive child, cried a lot. I expressed my feelings and it usually got me nowhere. I didn't make friends very easily. I was very quiet. I didn't know how to build a relationship. I would like to start opening up about my childhood. For this is something else that I've been contemplating a lot recently. I find it very strange that family feels like behind closed doors can say a lot of things to somebody to make them feel ashamed being who they are, with the protection of the word family and not able to open up. And if my story is something to be ashamed about, that to me is something I feel they should be questioning. Like, what is it about my story that they are ashamed of? It is my story. I think I'm going to save that for a future vlog. So I started this experiment with the video vlogs. I wanted to open up my channel to hear other voices that are least likely to be heard. We haven't really taken a whole lot of time to listen to the stories of our elders, because in there is some vital information, but we don't talk to our elders as often as we should, and their stories are going to die with them. Just to kind of backtrack, these are my thoughts on relationships, and this is something I've discovered about my own self that I had to actually come forward and come clean about. I'm gonna go ahead and use the fight that I had with my partner. It wasn't really a fight, maybe like an intense disagreement, because we felt like we were on different pages. Together we tried to build an idea, and we both seemed to want the same thing when it comes to helping people. That day we were going for a walk, and there's something I heard that seemed to oppose the big dream. At that point, I think I stopped listening because a lot of inner voices came back to surface within me. With these voices brings a lot of anguish and pain, sadness. So instead of continuing on trying to listen and understand as best as I could, I was trying to hear beyond that, but I was getting very emotional at this point, thinking that the big picture was all just a facade, though I was just getting the wrong idea. I remember sitting there and this one voice of doubt started to creep in. And when doubt started to creep in, the voice said to me, "You were such a fool. You fell for it again." It made me not trust anybody or anything. And I thought to myself, you know what? I give up. I am no longer going to be chasing an impossible dream. And I only say impossible because anytime I've expressed my dreams to somebody, most people try to bring me back to some sort of practical reality rather than something too big. But I feel like this big thing is only as big as it should get for me. I'm not afraid of that. Lost a lot of... I took my dream and I smashed it to millions of pieces like glass. That's what defeat feels like for me. As much as I knew it was ridiculous to keep going down that path of self-doubt, self-pity, it's like I'm trying to suck some sort of vitality to make me feel alive again. So at this point, whenever that conversation happened, we both agreed that we understood each other, but then I spent the next 2 days still suffering with something. I had morning depression, which I haven't had in months, and old patterns and old thoughts revolved around my depression. There was something that I knew I needed to say, I just didn't know what it was. It was something that I was afraid to look at, about what I was doing rather than the self-sabotage that I needed to confess to. It wasn't until yesterday that I've come to have the understanding what it is that I need in a moment. Like, there's a part of me that wants a type of conversation I'm not getting, or I'm trying to play with an idea. I'm not connecting in that way with the person I'm talking to. I actually end up saying some pretty hurtful stuff, depending on the person I'm talking to. I try to, seek how important I am to that person by threatening them with the fear of losing me. This isn't a good feeling to look at all. I did it, and it wasn't until yesterday that I noticed I was doing it. Whenever I was making empty threats, though they didn't feel like empty threats, they were just based off of a feeling that was temporary. I don't really feel like I do that much with my friends and family, but I do tend to do that whenever I'm in a relationship, which is probably a lot of the reasons why my relationships seem to fail. The relationship I'm in right now, it fell into my lap at a time that I didn't really feel I was ready to be in one. Just happened to be the one I needed, though. Without this type of open communication that we are able to develop together while having the critical thinking and understanding of perhaps there's more to our thoughts than we realize. Sometimes they are voices that we grab onto over time, maybe a voice that told us something, or because they were maybe hurt by something, or they had some type of distrust in me, or I don't know. I really don't know the reasons, and these are things I should probably ask people from now on, because it's kind of ridiculous that we have to hide a part of ourselves in order to appease somebody who has the issue. And that's very oppressing to do to oneself. I have to go through my catalog of close friends and start opening up a little bit more about the real side of me. I want to rebuild my relationships, but this time coming from an authentic place of truth. That's where I want to set the foundation. Sometimes I'm not presented with the little things until they occur. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts that come out very clear, but then the camera shows up and it's like I freeze up. Because I am struggling, because I'm a person. I'm a human being with real life struggles, real life thoughts. Hopefully my next video vlog will be a little bit more in depth. Maybe I'll try to end on something a little bit more positive. Like, for instance, whenever I did confess that I do have the tendency to try to validate my existence in my relationship by making empty threats, though they feel real. Because I do have a tendency to reflect back on my past relationships and try to pinpoint where they went wrong, identify them as red flags, and then move on to a new relationship and then see the same red flags and try to get myself to listen to myself to leave, which isn't fair, because I think that these red flags that I so-called pinpointed in the past could have just only been things that I should start opening up and communicating about. Because if I don't tell the truth about my feelings and I'm so overly accommodating, then yeah, these red flags are probably just me. If I cherish a relationship, that I need to start opening up more before it gets bad. After I told him yesterday, I did feel much better, but at the same time I felt like a piece of shit. But he was understanding and he listened and he said thank you for telling me. And now we can work on it together rather than me striking fear in him on purpose, using his fears against him to validate my importance. I don't want my relationship to fail because of my bad habits. So the positive note is that I've healed And now him and I can work together at identifying when I'm doing it, because he is aware now that I do these things. I took accountability for what I was doing, as hard as it was to look at it, and tried my best not to call myself a bad person. But yeah, we can learn and we can grow from this, and we can communicate when we identify any of these issues that we are able to openly communicate about. And I think I even look forward to more confessions, because all these confessions are just a doorway to healing. So I'm going to end the video blog on that note, and hopefully I'll feel much better tomorrow, or talk more about things that are really important to me, real life situations, the everyday life of an ordinary girl trying to live out a big dream.